It really should not have to come to this. It shouldn't. This is ridiculous. Okay, look, I try to keep things very lighthearted here. I like to focus on things that make us happy, things that make us excited, things that make us want to shout out, well, hell yeah gaming. But unfortunately, I have to be the one who sits down and tries to educate people on some things that a lot of the population just does not pay attention to. Okay, so here we go. Everybody is upset at the pricing of the Nintendo Switch and the new games. Perfectly fair. We're all rather unhappy with the entire situation. However, the sheer number of people that I have seen just unleashing backlash with all sorts of accusations of corporate greed and accusing Nintendo of being completely unreasonable is blowing my mind. Now, that is not to say that there is no corporate greed there, that Nintendo doesn't want more money. Obviously, they do. They're a corporation, and this is a capitalist system. They want they want line go up. They want number go big up, right? That's how it works. However, these things do not happen in a vacuum. We cannot just pretend like they decided one day that they are going to just start charging more. There is an extremely volatile situation going on with American politics that is unfortunately affecting global politics. And the sheer volume of people that I am seeing placing blame squarely on Nintendo, including people that I normally have a lot more respect for and consider to be a lot more educated, is just wrong. And let's be clear, this is not me, beating the meat for Nintendo. Yes, overall I enjoy them, but let's be real. Anyone who knows me knows that I am the last person to really go to bat for any major corporation. So let's take a look at this. So we know that this entire situation comes down to the tariffs that have been implemented by Donald Trump. That's the simplest line that it goes down to. I will be going into much greater explanation because even when that is put forth, a lot of people don't seem to understand how deep that actually goes, what the intricacies and nuances of that are. So I need to set the record straight on it, and to play it out, like the fact that I have to do this is kind of crazy. So no, I'm not an economist. I don't have a degree in business or global economics. I am someone who considers it my duty to stay informed and to research things before forming an opinion on them. Okay? That's where we are at here. So let's begin. Donald Trump ran on the platform of tariffs. That was one of his biggest things. That was the only consistent thing. The only consistent thing that he continued to say at every turn. And he would espouse 60% tariffs on China and just go out, boom, 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 nonstop. Well, okay. He got into office even before Liberation Day. He did have a 20% tariff just across the board on the country of China, as well as others that had been implemented in many other countries. Okay, so now that we have that established, Nintendo had no way of knowing what was coming on April 2nd. However, he had been stating over and over that he was going to be putting out more tariffs, big tariffs, basically everywhere. And what ended up happening was far beyond anybody's expectations. Nintendo had to increase prices accordingly based on what they thought was going to happen. Previously, they had their manufacturing in China. They moved it from China to Vietnam in 2019, largely because there were more promises of tariffs and trade wars going on with China. Well, okay. With that, Vietnam got a 46% tariff now. and Japan, they manufacture their the game cards locally in Japan. Nintendo, they manufacture the game cards in Japan, which got a 24% tariff added to it. Okay. Now, according to the budget lab at Yale, April 2nd puts our average effective tariff rate at 22.5%, which is far beyond anything, like far beyond reasonable, far beyond anything certainly in any living memory. The closest that we've come was 1909. The average that we tend to see, if we have this, just 3 years ago, 2022, we were at 1.5% as our effective average. And, the most countries were between 1% and 3% with some major outliers. But even the biggest of outliers we wouldn't fit on the same chart as them. It is absolutely insane. So now that we have that established, okay, we know why Nintendo has said that they're pulling the pre-orders and they have to reconsider. So prior to that, yes, okay, $450 for Switch 2 was quite steep. And increasing the prices on the games, again, we're looking at from $70 to $80 to $90. Okay, yes, again, very steep. No one's happy about that. And it's not like Nintendo wasn't already kind of testing the waters on that, when they released Tears of the Kingdom as a more expensive game. Sure. Completely get it. Now, the biggest pushback I see on the people saying that it's the putting out, it is the tariffs. The tariffs are the cause for this. Is people saying, well, the United States tariffs are certainly why they're charging everybody else the same amount. It's more expensive over here because, that makes sense. So, people, please understand that there are multiple business models. Okay, not everything works universally on a geographic pricing model. That's what that is. A geographic pricing model is what you call it when you charge different rates in different places depending on how much it costs to manufacture and export there. Okay? That's not universal everywhere. What they are practicing is uniform pricing, a uniform pricing model. And there are many reasons why a uniform pricing model can be used. The biggest one is because you average the price across all the regions so that the revenue that you get from areas that are more profitable will help cover the expense from the more expensive regions. You use the profit from other, the cheaper areas to subsidize the more expensive ones. This model is often even called the postage stamp pricing because it's the model practiced by the United States Postal Service, particularly with first-class mail service, because the United States Postal Service is, they're a service. They operate at a loss because they are a government service to the that is necessary for the people. That's why small towns in the living at the bottom of canyons where no one can get to, the United Postal Service still has people hop on a mule to make the daily treks up and down when nothing else will suffice at a severe loss, because that's part of a uniform pricing model. Revenue, the pricing averaged so that revenue from one area can cover loss in another. That is what we are seeing. Now, should the prices be $450 across the board if we were doing purely covering expenses? I can't say for sure. I would not be able, I don't have the numbers in front of me, and it's not like Nintendo is going to be sharing their personal, stat sheets. However, the entire reason it's happening in the first place is because of tariffs that were, 1, already in place, 2, were advertised as coming, and now 3, ungodly huge ones implemented after the fact, which is now causing them to pull back and reconsider. I just need people to understand this. Please. Please. The only person I saw that had a reasonable reaction to this was Arlo, of all people, our fun blue fuzzy monster. And the words that he left off on his video really resonate so hard, and I want to push this out there. Nintendo is not the authority that you should be raging against right now. Yes, they're going to want to make more of a profit. And just like every other time in modern history, when the excuse to sell something for a higher price occurs, it's going to be taken, and chances are greater than otherwise, prices will not go back down when the circumstances that caused them goes away. And in those situations, yes, absolutely, that's 1,000% corporate greed, and they should be held accountable. However, right now, that is not what's happening. So, everyone out there who wants to keep politics out of gaming, well, now, aside from the artistic situation of, every statement is a political statement, it is directly affecting not just our consoles and our games, it is affecting everything. The 3 times that the United States has implemented tariffs on this scale have always led to a depression afterwards, including the Great Depression. Ronald effing Reagan, the Republican Christ figure, he is a god to them, was against sweeping tariffs, against this level of trade war. That should tell you something. They do not lead to long-term stability. They don't. There are things that simply cannot be manufactured in various regions of the world, including the United States, without outside assistance. And there are things which we do not have the infrastructure and facilities to accommodate, even if we had the resources for them. They cause short-term instability and long-term the word frickin' escaped my brain in the moment. I'm not working off of a script. I had bullet points, and I've gotten past the bullet points at this point. This may be the most important video I make, if only for how crucial it is for people to be educated and to be informed. So, yeah. The long-term growth does not exist. The short-term instability is crippling. And there's definitely greed behind it. But it's not Nintendo's. So, please, contact your representatives in Congress. The Senate has the right to overturn this. Frankly, the executive branch doesn't have the power to implement tariffs unless they are given emergency powers by Congress. Congress can remove that. Congress can overturn it. Contact your local representatives. Let them know that you are pissed about this trade war. And that's really all I have for you. I wish it was better news, but this is the most important thing that I've done in a long time and probably will do on this channel ever. So thank you so much for watching. Contact your Congress representatives. Be informed. Thank you. Hell yeah.